for everyone, something about circles,
Is it really until 9?
No way. Are you serious?
It said 7 to 9.
Well, it's meetup. They be doing that. Yeah, get out of here, meetup. Trying to make us bond more. Right? So right now we're doing chapter 3. Have you guys read it? No? All right, cool. And before you leave, you gotta what's your name again? Brooke. All right, you gotta sign some papers before you leave. Since this is a school, okay. Just your name and stuff like that.
I signed it when I came in.
Yeah, but like it's a sheet, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, because they gotta make sure they know the people are coming here.
Okay.
Right? No you're Brooke. All right, cool. So you read this. No, see, I told you, bad students, man. Nobody reads. I gotta start testing them.
I wasn't even prepared.
I'm gonna start testing people, and like.
No, I listen to the audio version.
Yeah, I love the audio version.
Yeah.
The guy's voice sounds like so blasé, and like
No.
they love the sound of their voice, like the way he sounds. It's very. So, like I was saying, this chapter is about seeing through people's masks, and this chapter is once you know how to see through people's masks, it's all right. Let me just begin. So, people wear social masks to conceal what they really are and who they really are, right? But this mask has cracks in it. You must learn how to see through these cracks. These cracks are in the form of the nonverbal, things they cannot control. And that happens to a lot of us. Like, you could, for example, have you ever hanged around somebody that you don't like, right? And everything they do annoys you, right? Oh, shit. Okay. Everything they do, don't look. Everything they do annoys you, right? This is the thing, is that you don't say it, but because you feel annoyed, if they're looking at you, if they're observing you, they will see through those cracks. You're going to have a veneer of politeness and niceness, but the moment you get annoyed, if they're looking, they're going to be able to see what's in your mind, right? And the thing is that a lot of us, we are constantly getting signals from people. Everything people do is a sign. The problem is that we're not trained to look for those signs because we haven't developed that muscle of observation. Why? Because we're always self-absorbed. Our self-absorption causes us to go inward and not read the signs that people are giving us. And it's almost like you're shutting yourself off from the world and isolating yourself in your own mind-made prison. Right? So we got to learn how to see through those cracks in the form of nonverbal communication, because using your rational mind to understand people doesn't work, because people will send you mixed signals. So by just trying to read what people send you abrupt, like straight on, like their words and their smiles, their little fake ass smiles, right? You get confused and you just assume that they like you because you don't want conflict. You just ignore it. You're like, maybe they like me. Maybe they like me. So you got to learn how to process the nonverbal cues viscerally, not verbally, right? Because we're also used to processing things with our minds, with thinking, that our natural ability to read people non-verbally has been lost, because it's already in there. Because before we had language, what the hell do you think we used to communicate? Facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language. That's what animals do. Monkeys, they don't use too much of the words to communicate. They use their bodies, the people's body language, how people stand, not people, monkeys. How monkeys stand and stuff like that to communicate. The sound of the voice, not what they're saying, but the sound, the inflation. All of that is pre-verbal, right? And as humans, we had that ability. You see that a lot in Africa, hunting tribes, where they're able to hunt. And they're able to just look at each other, because think about it this way, right? When you're hunting and you're in the wild and you're hunting, you can't really just say, oh, Timon, whoa, monkey there. Nah, you gotta and you know what the hell what's gonna happen. It's like watching wolves hunt. If you watch wolves hunt, they hunt in a very intricate manner, right? But they don't use words. How the fuck did they know to go here? One wolf goes there. Why they use howling? They don't use words. They use nonverbal and the inflation of the voice, like the pre-verbal, not pre-verbal, but come in. Not pre-verbal, but the non-verbal mode of communication. Now, when I mean non-verbal, it's not you being a goddamn mute. I'm saying that we're not focusing on syllables and pure words. You know, it's like somebody says, hey, you want to go out? Sure. They said sure, but what was more important? No. But you know what? Yeah, let me go out, right? But most people don't look at that. They just hear the sure. All right, cool, let's go, right? So that's what we got to do. Because when you don't do that, you are inviting problems. You're inviting misunderstandings, and also you're losing out on opportunities to influence people because you're causing misunderstandings consistently, right? Does that make sense, people? Make sense? All right. So you got to learn to read it. You must learn to first quiet your mind, let go of assumptions, and attune yourself to people's moods. First, know their baseline. When I mean attuning yourself to people's moods, I'm not saying you just thinking that they're mad. No, I'm saying looking at the person's body language and in a way mirroring them and noticing how they feel inside based on you mirroring their body language. You know, so if somebody's talking low and talking in a mellow way, you mirror them and you notice in your head how it feels to be them. And then in a weird way, you'll begin to think like them. And you'll begin to kind of get a feel of what's going on inside the person's head, right? And the reason why you want to do that is because the most important thing is knowing how are people feeling right now. You know, how are people feeling right now? Not assuming how people feel based on how they felt yesterday, but how are people feeling right now? But also, you want to get to know how people feel on a consistent basis so that when they act different, you could tell the difference. It's not just assuming how they are right now is how they'll always be, but finding out what's their baseline mood. And once you understand that baseline mood, you see any difference. If you see any difference, high or low, something's going on, and you could just read that. Does that make sense, people? So what you must do is open your senses and register their reactions viscerally, feeling it from within. Because think about it, most of the time we process people's reactions just superficially. Oh, they're mad at me. Okay, that's one way. But when they're mad at you, just notice how they feel. That's all you gotta do. Just get in their heads and see how they see you. Like feel what they feel. I'm not saying like to get a knife and get angry too. I'm saying just feel how they feel. And what's gonna happen is that you're gonna begin to see a whole new world. No. Sorry, I had to do it. You're gonna begin to see a whole new world of communication, and that whole new world has been cut off from us because we're consistently feeling like we're being attacked. We're consistently on the defensive, and that causes you to not be interested in what people feel. Does that make sense? So you must create, but in order for you to do that, again, you cannot be self-absorbed. You cannot be thinking about yourself consistently. You cannot be thinking about what can you get from this interaction. You cannot be thinking, how do I sound? You cannot worry about what people think about you, because when you do that, you go inward and you begin to not go outward and observe people. And as a result, you miss signals they're sending you, and you create misunderstandings and unnecessary problems. Right? So you must first create mental space for observation, or else this second language, which is the nonverbal, will pass right by you. Because you got to realize is that approximately the kind of communication we get, 65% is nonverbal. And they said that 65%, we usually process only 5% because of our own self-absorption. You know, like how many times people, they don't get what you're trying to tell them. Like guys, you know this guys, where you're trying to tell a guy something, and because they want something else, they don't get the sign that you're not interested in them because they like you. They're like, hey, what's up? You're texting them. They text you, and you don't respond. Somehow they don't get the message. You know, the reason why they don't get the message is because they're not thinking about what you're feeling. They're just thinking about, I want to get something right now. That self-absorption causes them to misread your signs. You know what I'm saying? That happens to every one of us. So most people can't do this because they have turned themselves inwards. And it's kind of crazy how when you really think about it, even myself, like I'm not consistently looking at how I am reading people, but I'm not trying to feel how they feel inside, right? So even I myself don't do that. And because of that, we're losing out on a lot of things that could be useful. You see? All right. So make space and don't pay attention to words, right? Like for example, like it's like passive aggression. Passive aggression is nice words, but being delivered with a hostile attitude. You know what I'm saying? It's like when somebody tells you, hey, can you please quiet down? Like, I'm trying to sleep. Thank you. That thank you isn't a thank you of like, thank you. That thank you is a fuck you, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And so you gotta not focus on people's words. You know, and that's how people who are suspicious, like for example, it's like people who are trying to, I don't know, like a guy in a van trying to give candy to kids. Like if you're really reading, hey, come over here, want some candy? Yeah, I got candy, right? Most kids will do what? Focus on the words. Oh, candy, but they're not reading the facial expression. Yeah, candy. Yeah, come over here, candy. Right? So they're focusing on the words and they're not looking at the real message, which is the body language, their faces, their vocal, their pervy eyes and shit, and their white van. So to make space and don't pay attention to words. Don't miss out on the signs because you are inviting misunderstandings and problems and losing opportunities to influence people. All right? So how do you fix this problem? The problem of not being able to understand people. First, observe your own self-absorption and how little you pay attention to people, right? Like I said earlier, even myself, like notice how little you really process people's emotions. Like when someone's mad at you, notice how little notice how you get defensive and you don't focus on how they feel. Someone's mad at you, defensiveness. Like, fuck you, like you just, like it's something very quick. Like they attack you and you just want to defend yourself, right? So that defensiveness, what you got to do is notice, it's not fix it, but just notice yourself, not paying attention to them. They get mad at you and you're just thinking about what to say next. Right there, you're not thinking about, you're not processing them. Rather, you should not, they're saying clean that shit up, right? And you're in your head, you're like, this fucking bitch, right? Rather than clean that shit up. Oh, interesting. I wonder what she's saying that. Right? You're getting in the why you guys might be saying, why is he saying she? It's because I'm talking about someone, right? I'm looking at the camera. Right, so you just notice your own self-absorption first. And again, that should be your first task. Noticing how little you pay attention, right? The second thing, so on that point, open your senses and absorb their energy, not their words. Register their energy from within. That's what you gotta do. Feel viscerally how they feel. Because you have your thinking mind and you have your body. They both speak to you. Your body will tell you what people feel. If you pay attention, your body will tell you because you have mirror neurons that are designed to understand what's going on in people's heads. That ability will be stunted whenever you focus on whenever you focus on your mind to process things. Because the mind will only pay attention to what's familiar to the mind, which is words. The body will pay attention to what's familiar to it, which is visceral reactions. Right? And so when you focus on those visceral reactions, you'll be able to get in people's head. It's the closest to mind reading as we could get, right? So first thing, observe your own self-absorption, right? The second thing, register people's reaction from within. That's all you got to do when you're hanging out when you're seeing your kid. And I'm gonna give you guys exercises to do. But that's the main point is learning how to do it, and I'm gonna teach you how to do it. So don't say how do you saying to do it, but how do you do it? I'm gonna teach you guys how to do it. All right. So, any questions? Any questions? Any observations? No.
Have you seen? There's like a YouTube I was watching, like how you were saying mind reading. They like pick up subtle cues and they can like make you say something or make you choose something or like I don't know. Just reminded me.
Like Darren Brown, like mentalist people?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree with you. There are some, like, a lot, the people who are really good at that are, like, for example, like, some of the, what was the point? I'm sorry.
No, you said observations. So
Yeah, they're a little crazy. I don't know how to do it, you know?
I know.
Like those mentalist shows.
Yeah, you just gotta read people and, like, yeah.
It takes training. Like, I got really good how to tell if a girl doesn't want to kiss me. I got really good at that, I'll tell you that. Huh? Oh, yeah, it definitely is, yeah. So, you must realize that this type of communication is different. It's nonverbal. It's visceral, right? Before language, I'm reading a lot of things that I said earlier, so let me just keep reading through it. Before language, we communicated through nonverbal. That's why our faces are so expressive. You know, that's why when you see an animal, like on Animal Planet being eaten, they look bored. Don't you notice that? Like you see like a rhino or like a little zebra, they're being eaten, but they look like they're chilling. You know, like hyenas are eating them. They're like just, right? The reason why is because their species are not meant to show sadness, pain. They're just there, you know? But when humans, God forbid, gets eaten, you can see the goddamn expression. They're like sad, they're like, oh my God, oh. But when you see an animal being eaten, you're like, is he even feeling pain? This dude is chilling. Like, he's like a Zen master. And does anybody see that? No? Am I the only one who sees that? Okay. So the reason why is because, all right, let me keep reading. So this muscle is not trained because we focus on words, like I said earlier. This means we're not meeting our potential in terms of communication. You must master this language by learning how to relax and control your need to interpret words and categorize what people say, right? You have to lower your ego and stop what you want and stop trying to get what you want and turn outward, right? So also we all have to act. All right, so that's one thing, right? You gotta learn how to read people, but also you guys gotta know that this life is all a game. Everyone is acting. We all act, right? Don't you notice how when you're alone, when somebody comes, it's like the spotlight's on and you're like, we gotta act now, right? You could be chilling, your friends come, hey, now you're acting, hey, camera's on, you know? Like every time someone's around, in some way we are acting. In some way, and they're acting too, right? That is something but the thing is that we sort of take their act as who they are. That's why everyone looks confident, but deep down they're all insecure. That same insecurity that you have when you're alone, that's how people are when they're alone. They think the same thoughts, they have the same doubts. But when they're around you, they don't show that. They show confidence. They tell you how they dumped that guy, but then they'll text them next day later, but they won't tell you that. You know? They won't tell you they went back to their exes because they want to look strong. Everyone is putting on an act. Parents with kids, they'll tell their kids everything's fine, but in reality, they're afraid. Everyone's acting. When they're kids, even your goddamn kids, hey mommy, oh no, that little kid's evil. Little David's evil. I've known evil kids, man. Like they act cute. They're with their parents. They're happy when they go to school. Though they're turning into little tyrants, right? Those little kids are also acting, even when they're acting like little devils. Nah, they're not acting. They're little devils. That's the only exception, right? But at the end of the day, we're all acting, right? So the thing is that we all have to act in order to keep society together. When you go into a grocery store, like the cashier lady, she can't keep it real with you because she has to act as the cashier. She needs to. You can't be like, yo, what's up, my nigga? No, you can't do that. You can't keep it real because you gotta act, right? So we can't resent that people have to act. You can't resent that when you're a guy, you gotta act. When you're with a guy, when you're on a date and you're hanging out with a guy you like, that's Snoop, you're also acting. We're all acting. You see what I'm saying? Until they get to know you, and then you stop acting. And that's why they lose interest. That's actually why people lose interest, right? We fall in love with the outward appearance until we finally get to know them. And we realize they're as imperfect as us. And that sort of disappoints us, and it disappoints them, and they lose interest. It's kind of crazy, right? Yeah, it's something that I was thinking about today. I'm like, fuck that. That's kind of true. Like when we're with someone, we like the image they give off. That's why it's kind of like when you're hanging out with a guy and you want marriage, and so you do everything. You give them the best time. You're submissive. You say yes, daddy. No, I'm not daddy. Sorry, my friend. But the point is that you're very nice. And then a lot of guys say this: you get married and all the sex stops. Why? Because you were working towards that. That's what that was. You got what you want, and now you can lay back. It's like NBA players. They get to the NBA and they stop working hard because they got to where they want to be. When you're at a job, you act like you're the most responsible person until you get past that 90-day, and then you're secure. Now you stop acting, right? It's all in that. Everyone's acting, right? No one in life should keep it real. This whole phrase of keeping it real, speaking my mind all the time is all bullshit. It's ignorant people who do that. People who don't get anywhere, people who offend the wrong people, are people who keep it real. Like Tekashi. Test my gangster. Oh, okay. All right. Test your gangster. Keep it real, bro. Keep it real in jail, right? Keep it real. Sorry. Right? So we should learn how to play our roles to the fullest in order to fully and really gain power. How does Vladimir Putin gain power? By lowering his ambition. You didn't find out about Vladimir Putin until he became who he was, right? You in order to really get, because when you try to keep it real and you try to show people that you want to be on top, what you're doing is threatening people who want that too. So right now you're creating more friction and you're creating enemies because you're being honest and you're keeping it real. You know, you told your boss to go fuck himself because you're keeping it real, right? You're keeping it real broke, right? Yeah, you broke now, right? So this whole keeping it real is all wrong, right? And we see that a lot with minorities, us minorities. We fuck it up a lot with that phrase, thanks to Dave Chappelle, right? So, yeah, right? He did make a skit when keeping it real goes wrong. Yeah. Right? We should play our roles to the fullest. It's like with being a parent, right? You want to be real with your kids. You want to be your friends' kids. No, you got to play that role of the parent. That's how it should be. When you try to keep it real with your kids, you become their friends and they don't respect you, right? And it kind of sucks though, but that's how it is. People will only judge you based on appearances. Not only, but you know what I mean. And you got to realize also the best actors are able to navigate the social web with much ease and little friction. That's how it is. The people who get in life are those people who know how to get around with little friction. And you can't get around this world with little friction if you're consistently keeping it real with people, right? The truth is that it takes energy to act. The whole playing your role takes energy, right? You're working and the customer is always right. That takes energy to believe that the customer is always right, right? So it takes a lot of energy to do that. And as a result, we resent the fact that we have to act. We resent the fact that we have to show another persona. Why can't I just be me? Why do I have to play these games to get a guy to like me? Why do I have to take a long time to text him? Why can't he just love me for myself? Why do I have to keep doing this? Because that's how people are. We're not transcendent creatures who love you for your personality. That's not how it is. You know, we constantly want to say what's on. So that's the thing is that. And this is the thing is that the women who don't play the game right, they're the ones that are consistently falling in love with the wrong guys, right? They're the ones who consistently date the assholes, and that's because they think that the world works through honesty, and the world rewards honesty. We all know that the world doesn't reward honesty because when you're honest and your parents tell you, did you take the cookie? You realize that you get your ass whooped. So what happens? You learn to shut the fuck up and lie. It's like Louis C.K. He talked about lying once. He was like, what was it? He said like, it's so lying. How could we tell our kids not to lie when it's such a powerful tool? You know, you could make your problems disappear instantly with just one lie. It's like so, and that's kind of true, right? And the world works through lies. The world works through little white lies. You know, everyone lies. How many times a day you lie? All the time. You know, I lied, but I haven't lied yet. Right? So, and this is another thing, and it relates to me, is that we consistently want to say what's on our minds, but we know we can't say everything, right? We're around somebody we hate. We want to tell them, but we can't say it because it's not socially appropriate. You either have a job or you're around people and you don't want to seem like you're attacking them and stuff like that. So these counter forces makes it hard to communicate because you want to tell them off, but you can't. So you got to hold it in. So you got to bottle it in. And that makes it hard because then it creates friction. People will sense that friction because they can sense it like, yo, something about that person. I feel like they don't like me. You know what I'm saying? Any questions? Any comments? All right. So what I want you to do as a first step, because when it comes to seeing through people's masks, you first have to see through your own mask. You know, it's like understanding narcissism. You first have to understand your own narcissism. You first have to liberate yourself from your own narcissism, not through not being narcissist, but by observing your self-absorption. So in order to read people's act, you first have to notice your own acts. Notice how you act around people. For example, when you're around somebody and you notice that and you just ran into them and you sort of, there's nothing much to say, but you keep the conversation going, notice how you act. Notice what kind of nonverbal cues you're showing out. Notice how you inflate your voice. Notice how you deal with awkward silences. Notice what happens when you're acting. Because we're all acting. And sometimes you don't think you're acting because you're so used to it. It's such a common thing. Right? And the thing is, for example, it's kind of like, I don't know, like when people hang around somebody and let's say, I don't know, like let's say somebody's buying drugs. Then not that I advocate it, because we're at school, right? But let's say you're buying drugs from your dealer, right? You get it, yo, what's up, B? Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? And you leave, right? You have a certain way of talking with some people. That's you acting right there. But then let's say you hang around with your mom. You're acting right there. Notice how you act. Notice what happens when you're lying. Notice what happens when you get nervous. Notice you're acting. That's the first thing you got to do. Because what you do, most likely, other people do. Most likely, other people do. You see what I'm saying? So that's something I do myself too. So I gotta notice when I'm acting. Another thing is that, you see, there's something called pinging, right? And that is when we're around somebody who we find of higher value, we begin to not act but react to them. For example, let's say you're hanging around somebody who you deem as attractive. There's a natural personality in you that arises when somebody's attractive. Certain kind of your inflation, you inflate your voice, you act more animated because you're attracted to them. But then when you hang around somebody who you're not attracted to, you act different. You take longer time to text them. You're more blasé. You're more indifferent to them. And so depending on where you see where they are relative to you, higher or lower status, you act differently. When you're around your parents, because you're afraid of their judgment, you act differently. You withhold some things. You're pinging off of them. You're sensing their judgment, and you're reacting accordingly. When you're around your boss and they intimidate you because they're your boss, there's a certain personality that comes when he's your boss. When you're meeting a guy and he's new and you like him a lot, there's a certain personality when you like a guy. But then when you stop liking them, there's another personality that comes out when you stop liking them. Notice those things, because most likely, if you do that, when somebody's losing interest, they'll do the same thing. And you'll be able to easily recognize it. Why the hell do you think I know the things I know? Because it's in me. When I tell you when guys lose interest, because I notice it myself. Oh, interesting. She did that, and that made me lose interest. Interesting, right? The reason why I'm able to coach people very well, and I think I do that very well, is because when I was learning how to approach women, I was coaching myself. I was like, fuck, Alexis, like, that's wrong. All right, next time when you approach with this mentality. All right, let me approach. And I noticed things working and I noticed things not working. And because of my own process, when I listen to people's struggles, I automatically know what they're going through because I remember myself going through it. So I know how to coach people because I learned how to coach myself in a very deliberate way, right? So through learning about your reactions, learning how you behave when you around people who are attractive, learning how you behave when you're around a homeless person, that's another thing. Notice how do you behave when you see someone who you don't deem as worthy of your time or even your goddamn energy, right? Those things people don't notice because those are blind spots. It reveals a negative quality about them. It reveals the quality about them that they judge other people. You see? So just notice notice your little incongruences, your darker nature, in other words. So when you do that, then you'll have a better understanding of people because you're freeing yourself up. All of those things, all of those processes was unconscious. Now, because when things are unconscious, what happens is that they take up a lot of energy. Unconscious processes take up a lot of your mental energy. So because of that, you can't really notice people as much. But when you make unconscious processes, how you feel about people relative to where they are in life and how you react to them, it frees you up. Now you're able to read people better. You see what I'm saying? But you first have to notice those unconscious processes. Noticing when you lose confidence, when you're around somebody. Noticing how you behave when somebody rejects you. How does your body feel and how do you react to them? You see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is bring a lot of mindfulness to your goddamn reaction. All right? So you got two tasks as students of human nature. One, in terms of seeing through people's masks, because you got to realize everyone's acting, even your cousins, Your mama's acting, your baby brother's acting, your cousin's acting, you're acting, the pastor's acting, everyone is acting. All of those smiles you see, come in. The worst students coming in late. I'll show you the letter. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Sit down, your task, right? So the first thing is, because this is the thing is that people, when you realize that everyone's acting, the little forced smiles that people give you, the have a nice day that people give you, the or even with partners when they act like when they just act simply because they either are attracted to. In other words, sometimes we resent the theatrical manner of humans. You know, we resent that. But what's going to happen is that if you resent that, once again, you're becoming self-absorbed. You're going inward. You know, you're thinking about yourself and you're just judging people. And once again, you're back in the same trap. You got to fully accept that people act. It's just how it is. Your mama's acting. Your daddy's acting. Grandpa's acting. Your pastor's acting. Goddamn you, your goddamn dog is acting. You know, he wants a meal from you. So he'll you know, like maybe not the dog, right? Yeah. So because it's part of social norms, you know, it's important. People can't just goddamn speak their minds to you all the time because it's gonna be conflict all the time. You know what I'm saying? And so don't moralize people. Don't judge them. Don't say, oh, I keep it real. You know, don't do that. That's the first thing. Second thing, don't trust appearances. Right? Keep that in mind. Just because somebody acts confident, acts happy, is smiling at you, is acting polite, doesn't mean that's how they are when they go home. You know, because you are the same. Notice how you act when you're around people, and then just notice how you are when you're by yourself. It's completely different. You know, you're just a completely different creature. Heck, you even look psychopathic because you're talking to yourself when you're alone. You know, you're like, oh, you know, like it's weird. Like if you just record someone when they're alone, they look a little crazy. Honest to God, like I'll look crazy when you look at me alone. I'll talk to myself. Like it's just crazy. Like we're all psychos. So that's the first thing. So one, don't resent people as people's acting. Two, don't trust appearances. Right. So realize that people act, and then the second thing, realize that you shouldn't trust those acts. You know, just because a pastor's a pastor doesn't mean he's not fucking someone's wife. You know, just because somebody says, you know, like because we can all think of times when somebody showed us one face and then they were another. You know, so what I want you guys to do, just don't trust these appearances. And it's not that you're being paranoid, but that you're just aware of it. That's all. You're just aware of it. I mean, but no paranoia, just awareness. You're not naive no more, right? So we're gonna go with this one, and then we're gonna finish it, right? So the first thing we're gonna be developing a few different skills, and the first skill is the observational skill, and we're gonna be showing you guys some drills, right? So children from age 5 are very good observers, right? You know, like, mommy, I don't trust that guy, right? You should listen to the little baby. He might be right? Like, kids sort of have an extra instinct for creepy people or for people who have bad intentions. They could tell, right? So we lose that ability after age 5. We lose that ability to sense people viscerally. Because when you're a child, the thing is, like, as a child, when you first come out the womb, you don't develop thinking. So you gotta really use your observational skills. You're reading your mom's facial expressions. You're reading other people's facial expressions. You're reacting to people's facial expressions. When you're talking to your little baby friends and shit, you're not really talking. You're just communicating with each other non-verbally. You're playing with toys, and so you're going like that, and then you're reacting to another friend's toys and shit. And so as a child, you're training that muscle, but then you develop thinking, and you start getting used to thinking because it's so easy, and you communicate a lot more directly. And when people talk to you, it's a lot easier to understand. There's not a lot of observation involved, and so you're able to go inward and focus on your own insecurities. So you don't have to really observe people as much because you have this crutch of verbal thinking and verbal communication, but you lose the ability to read people as a result of it. So you must not gain the ability to read people, but regain your skill through practice. You know, through practice, you know, practice, right? So you gotta do drills for that, right? So some of the drills are, So the key to the drill, though, that we're going to talk about, because there's some drills we got to do. The key is don't look for anything. That's the key. Like, don't look for a specific thing, right? Be open to whatever the hell they're going to give you, right? They may look smart, but don't say, oh, I bet he's smart. Nah, just remain open. Act like you're looking at a goddamn fog, right? Act like you're looking at nothing, right? Don't even, just because you're looking, no. Just be open. You see what I'm saying? Because every time somebody comes and talks to us, we immediately judge them. Let's say a homeless guy comes to us, immediately we judge him. Homeless person wants money, right? But you got. I'm not saying to take homeless people, like, but what I'm saying is that when a homeless person comes, notice how you just push them away mentally. That's all I got. You got to just notice it, because that's really unconscious. Those reactions, right? So don't look for anything, and don't give. Another thing is that when you're reading people, let them talk, right? The key to reading people is not you talking. No, all right? Surprise, surprise. It's not you talking. It's you letting them talk. Now you might say, but I don't let people, but people don't talk. No, I'm not saying some people don't want to talk to you, right? What I'm saying is that when you're talking to someone and they're engaged, that tendency of yours to want to say something, you just drop it. I'm talking about that moment of like, no. You drop that shit, right? You just listen to them. When you're on a date with someone and you like what they're saying and you want them to know you, shut the fuck up. Let them talk, right? And don't give too much eye contact. I have a girl who does that, and I even got to tell her, like, yo, stop looking at me too much. Because she does that. She just look like that. Like, literally, she's like, and she twists her face, too, right? I'm like, yo, stop doing that, man. Stop doing that. Like, she go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, so that's what you got to do, because people don't like to feel like they're being read too much. They'll get defensive, they'll get in their heads, and then you're just throwing everything off, right? So some of the drills that you got to, and again, when people feel like you're observing them, you know what they do? They put on an extra mask. It's kind of like when the cameras are on, and people act when the cameras are on. Have you noticed when people are on Snapchat, they'll be like, they'll be normal, and they'll be like, hey, you're a Snapchat. Hey! They start acting, right? Like, they're like, they're just chilling, like, oh, yeah, Snapchat, oh! Like, they start acting. That's literally what happens when we're around people. We're being ourselves, and then we start acting. We put on a role, right? That's all that is, right? So some of the drills are, the first drill, and I really like this a lot. First, pick someone who you're going to observe, right? Pick one person that you're going to observe. And what you got to do is first know their baseline mood. How are they on a consistent basis? That's the first thing. And that, you know what that means? You got to take time to know people. That means that you're not going to know them in one sitting, right? First, get a feel of their baseline mood. Who they are when they're just chilling, right? So then observe them in conversation. When you're in conversation with them, the first thing you want to do is observe their facial expressions that contradict their words. That's the first step. We're doing it one step at a time, right? Don't try to observe every goddamn thing. Find one thing first. You got to isolate that muscle. So first, look for facial expressions that contradict their words. Look for contradictions. So pick one person and that you constantly talk to, and just look for those little contradictions. Say, hey, how are you? I'm doing good. Right there. You know, they're lying to you right there. They're not doing good. Something's wrong, right? Just notice it. Then, after you get used to looking at the facial contradictions, right? Look for vocal contradictions. When a yes really means no. Hey, you want to go out? Yeah, I guess. That's a no, right? Look for that. Because if you're not looking for it, what's going to happen is that if you're just trying to do what you want to do, you're going to ignore that. But if you actually are thinking about what they want to do, you'll naturally, what do you want to do? You seem like you don't want to do that. What do you want to do? Oh, actually, I want to stay in. You know what? Let's do that, right? But most people are not really thinking. They don't really care about what you think. So you got to make an effort to look for those vocal contradictions, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, because contradictions really like they just pop out. It's just like they pop. You know, it's very obvious, right? The next thing is after you get used to looking at the facial contradictions, vocal contradictions, then look for body language like hand gestures and posture, right? After that, write down the observations and look for any patterns, right? And again, look, this is only if you're committed to it. This is something that I do because it's my job. So I like to think I'm extremely good at reading people, right? Don't get self-conscious about it. I'm really good at reading people. And that's because I have a lot of practice, but if you practice this, you'll be able to read people because you guys have an unlimited amount of time to practice. Right? How many times do you practice this? Not many times. But what's the most important skill in life? Reading people. But we don't do that. Right? You guys got to learn how to cultivate that skill. So that's the first drill, right? Pick a person and then systematically first learn how to read facial expressions and their contradiction, then vocal, then body language, and then learn how to write it down so that you can use it as reference, right? And because what you're looking for is patterns, because after that, you cannot, because if you, initially when you try to do this, it's going to take up a lot of mental space, you know? Like you're going to find it a little hard. What you want it to be a almost like a fingertip feel. Where you see it, and it's like, you just recognize it. It's not like, no, it's fingertip. The only way for it to be a fingertip is if you consistently expose yourself and you're consistently looking for it, all right? The second drill is notice people's baseline expression and look for any deviation and why, right? So if they're naturally jovial, if they're naturally happy, notice any time where people are just acting out of character. And notice how they act out of character. How do they act different when they're sad? Like you're just looking for the difference. That's all. Just look for the goddamn difference, right? Look at this person, and also don't just look at the difference when they get mad, angry. Also look at them in different contexts. How do they react when they're around their friends? How do they react when somebody else is around them? Do you notice that they're more quiet with you, but then when they're around their friends, they're more loud? Do you notice when they're with their parents, they're more social, but when they're around their boss, they're this, right? Look for those differences, like in terms of contextual differences. And what's up?
Isn't that called code switching? Isn't that normal? Like, if I talk to my homegirl, I'm gonna be more friendly, but when my boss, I'm not gonna like.
Yeah, you're being. That's all. We all play roles, you know. And that's necessary because if you don't do that, then you're gonna create a lot of conflict, right? Like, you know, it's like it's time to work. What are you acting out? You know what I'm saying? So some people don't do that. They think they gotta keep it real all the time, right? So that's what you gotta do, right? So that's one thing, right? Noticing how people change in terms of when they have a different mood and when they're in different scenarios, right? That happens with kids. Oh, you think you have an angel, huh? Oh, little Tim is a devil in class, right? And then when you pick up your kids, I'm like, y'all gotta talk to you. I'm like, why? Your kid acts very disruptive in class, but he's so nice. He's so nice at home. You know, nah, little Timmy, can't trust that little kid. The third drill. When people are excited or anticipating anything, notice their voice and notice everything about them. When people are anticipating like a date or are excited that something's gonna happen, don't just notice them happy. Just notice what out of all of their expressions, what's creating this impression of happiness? Like, what are the little things that's going on that's giving off that's causing an expression of happiness? And just look for it, right? You just that interesting, right? Look at their eyes, look at their voice, look how they behave, look at the quick things in their actions. Look at the little things. Now, I don't want you to be goddamn observant and look at a fucking mirror and just look at. Not just observe. You know what I'm saying? And then contrast it when they're not excited. Contrast it and just feel the difference inside of you. Remember, I'm not saying just look at them being happy. I'm saying notice the difference, but also feel it inside of you. How do they feel about that happiness? And then notice when they're sad, how do they feel? What you're doing is that you're building up a database of understanding different emotions. You might think, oh, this is useless. What's going to happen is that if you do this consistently, you're going to begin to have an extremely good intuition of people's thinking. And it's going to look, in a weird way, it's going to look almost like his mind reading. You see? And again, I'm lucky because I got to practice this a lot, because when you're practicing picking up girls and stuff, I did that for like 2 years, you have to read people. It's just, you have to, right? And so what I noticed is that the more I did it, the more I was able to get into, like, it's so weird. It's almost like a psychic power. Like, you could read people. It's the weirdest thing in the world. And the thing is that I was able to do it because you have thousands of practice, like thousands of people to practice on. Yeah, I approach thousands. Yeah. I was desperate back then. Right. But yeah, it's the thing is that like any skill that people learn, you'll hear an exorbitant amount of practice. You know, how often you practice basketball? You ask Kobe Bryant, 8 hours a day. What the fuck? How often you practice painting? 14 hours a day. What the fuck? How often do you practice soccer? 10 hours a day. How often do you approach women? 300 girls a month. Like, not anymore, but the point is the best people who are really good approach a lot. This is how it is. The fourth drill and the last one is pay attention to mixed signals, right? If the show, and this happens to me a lot, for example, yesterday, right? This fucking bitch. Sorry. So I have a horrible roommate. Maybe I'm the bad one. I think I'm the bad one, right? Maybe I'm the messy one. But anyways, I don't know. Maybe she likes me. Maybe she hates me. I don't know what the hell it is. But she always has something to say. She never keeps a goddamn mouth shut. It's kind of those people who don't know how to pick their battles. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like if I walk in the room, if it's 10 p.m. and the door slams by mistake, she's not going to say, oh, maybe it was one time. No, she'll come out the room and say, can you please be quiet? Right? And you can't say shit because like, you know, it's kind of like, it's one little thing. So it's kind of like, it's not like you can say, yo, shut the fuck up. Right? Because it's one thing, but the accumulation of it, it's like being killed by 1,000 paper cuts, you know? It's like, it's little, you can't say much because it's little, and it said please, but it's petty, right? So when you do that often, for example, we have cats, right? So some people have like little trays, so that you can put your cup and the cats don't throw them out, right? Like little trays. Imagine this, the surface being a little bigger so you can put your cup, and so the cats won't do that, right? So I put like my earphones there and my weed jar there, right? And she was like, "Hey, I put your stuff in the room, because they were on the table. You know, they were on the tables, and but they're really for cups for water as they're meant to be. That part, as they're meant to be. That's the part, right? Right? Like as they're meant to be. And I'm like, so it's kind of like and the thing is, it's one little thing. So it's kind of like. It's not like you can say something. It's just one little thing, right? So then yesterday, I came yesterday. I was home, right? And I got some Chinese food, and she's like in the bathroom, and she comes out, right? And I open the microwave, and you microwaves, they slam, blah, right? But if you want to be quiet with it, you could slam like that. You want to make a sound, but because I just did that, right? And she comes out. She's like, hey, I'm trying to sleep. Can you not make sound? And I tell her and then that's when I said no. She's like, what? I was like, no, stop. That's the first time I showed her that I'm getting tight, right? I couldn't hold it in, right? Right? Yeah. So, but the thing is that I'll be nice to her, like, right? So let's say that she comes, hey, what's up, right? What she should do, don't notice me being nice. Notice that one time I got pissed off at you. That's my real me. I'm just being polite because I don't want problems. That's what you guys gotta do. There are times when people will say, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. No, they meant to do that. When someone's angry at you and they're drunk and they say, I didn't mean to do that, they really meant to do that. They just regretted it. When you said I love you and because you're drunk and you text them, I didn't mean to do that, you meant to do that. Any sign of aggression that happens and don't pay attention, don't take it too serious, but if it happens twice, pay attention. It's inside, and because they got so emotional, like yesterday, I got so tight, it was a pitch, I just couldn't resist, right? So what am I doing? Right now, I'm baiting her. I'm leaving my books on the table. I want her to put my book back in. What she does, she if I leave my art supplies on the table, she'll put them in my front door, right? So I'm leaving them. I want her to do that, right? Because I'm gonna tell her. And I'm being straight out. I'm like, look, man, you don't tell me what to do no more. You're not gonna. Exactly. I'm like, it's not part of the lease being clean no more, right? So you could tell my roommate to do something, but you are not gonna tell me to do this no more. If she says you're being disrespectful, I'm like, look, that's fine. I hope I'm giving you motivation to find someone to move you out. She gotta get real. The thing is, like in the beginning, I went up to her and I was like, look, man, like, I feel like we're not meant to be, right? And it's me, it's not you, it's me. I'm a messy person, you know? And I understand my mom went through this too. And I just think that we're not compatible because you're very clean and I'm just not. You know, like, so I think that it's best that I move and that, you know, I was putting everything on me, right? I was acting humble. I was like, it's me. And she was like, yeah, right? Now I'm like, bitch, look, man, this shit is not gonna happen. You know what? She texted me. She was like, hey, man, you know, that same day, right? Last night, she was like, you know, I don't mean to be on you all the time, but I think it's 11 a.m. and we were quiet for a few hours prior to you. Sounds like a fucking mental asylum. We were quiet for a few hours before you, and I just need to wake up early. And I was like, go to sleep. I just texted her, go to sleep. Just go to sleep. I'm excited. I'm about to leave my shit in the apartment now. Because I could be wrong.
Instigator.
Huh?
Instigator.
But I know that's, yeah, right. But I could be wrong. Maybe I am messy. Maybe I am, right? Or maybe I am loud. Right? And maybe she is overreacting. I'm just gonna it's like my own therapy, right? But yeah, man, and most people's tendency is to like initially to like defend themselves, right? But I gave her a shot. And let me tell you something, man. If I'm getting annoyed by you, you really are fucking up. Because she doesn't say anything to my roommate. But to me, she does. She has it going for her. I'm excited. All right, people. So I'll give you guys an update. The only way to find out is for you to come next week. Shit's gonna happen this week, people. I'm about to leave shit. So what I'm gonna do, and again, I'm not gonna be messy. I'm not being messy. What I'm gonna do is just leave my book bag in the living room. Think about that. I'm provoking her by leaving my book bag in a goddamn living room. Is that even It feels like I'm in a goddamn living room. I mean, it feels like I'm in a hotel. It's almost to a point where I'm in the room, and you know how much I pay a month in Bushwick? It's not even that. I'm paying $1,400 a month. So on top of paying $1,400 a month, I gotta deal with this shit, right?
That's bullshit.
Oh, yep, she has it coming. Oh yeah, she has it coming, man. You know, I'm gonna be passive aggressive. Oh yes, I'm so excited about this. Oh my God, all that pent up aggression is coming out. All right, people. You guys have a